What's going on, guys? It's Dylan, and I'm back again with another comic book rant. And today, I want to do a comic book review on Morbius, the Living Vampire, issue 1. Now, I've been hearing a lot of great things about this writer, Vita Alea. The penciler is Marcelo Ferreira. Both of these two people, Marcelo and Vita, I've been hearing a lot of great things about, their work. So, it wasn't a surprise that this book was actually really good. And honestly, if you didn't enjoy it as much the first read, I think the second read, I talked to somebody else about this on Instagram. I think the second read, it kind of, it came together a little bit better, I feel like. And you understood what was going on, because in my opinion, well, hold on, before I say that, Roberto Paggi is the inker, and because all three of those guys, they did really good. Dono Sanchez El Amaro is the colorist, so actually they got an inker and a colorist, and the cover artist is done by Ryan Brown, and I actually am waiting to still get the variant, the HOTS variant, but this was a great story. And the second time I read it, I read this as if it was like a full-on horror story, and that's exactly what I think they're going for, because it almost started off like Blade or something, like Morbius is kind of hunting, except instead of Blade hunting vampires, it's Morbius kind of hunting bad guy criminals. But it starts off with this Greenpoint, Brooklyn, in this warehouse, and there's this scientist type guy, and he's talking. He's like, scientists and people are always talking about the potential for technology and progress and the potential for power. Well, he wants to put all that, instead of putting all that power into a gun, he wants to put it into like a human, use that power on a human and create like a super mutant or something, you know what I mean? And basically that's, that's the type of thinking, like, for the super soldier serum that Cap used, you know what I'm saying? Like always, everybody has always tried to recreate that and become like a superhuman. But as this guy, he's the melter man. That's what his name is. And these guys are like, are you sure about this, And he's actually, he's putting chemicals together and he's testing them on his goons and his workers, honestly. So, but before he can stick the needle in this guy, these kids, some of his guards and workers come running in like, oh my God, run, 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 we gotta go. And then he's like, what the hell is going on? Like, what do I pay you for? And they're like, monster. And it just full on, like, it's just like a full on, like the beginning of a horror movie, I felt like. I could think of like some like exact horror movies that this kind of maybe they Vita pulled from a bit. But there's just so many that are like this that I really enjoyed it because I'm a big horror fan. But this guy, he starts off and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? And this guy's like, run for your life. And the melter man, he's got this little holster in this gun. He has some type of fire gun or something. And he pulls that gun out and then he accidentally kills some of his own guys. And the guy's like, you killed them. And he's like, man, chill out, man. He's like, I'm like, what do you want me to do? He's like, he's like, the gun's been a little touchy since the upgrade. Like, chill out. That was a bit funny, but just another thing, like, as Morbius is like stalking these guys in the warehouse, and he's like jumping, coming down, swooping down, scaring the shit out of them. And like, look, this one scene, it's really hard to pay attention because you'll see kind of Morbius in the shadows, but you'll see him there, and then he, like he swoops by, he's like screwing with him. And I didn't really pick that up the first time I read this. And he's screwing with this guy, and he swoops down on him, pounces on him, and starts feeding on his blood, man. And the thing about Morbius, I'm thinking, as I'm reading this, I'm like, this guy, he is not no good guy. I hope this guy doesn't think he's some hero, but in his mind, he knows he's not good, but he says that he's gonna get better, and that at least he left those guys alive, that those guys were dirtbags and they deserved it, but I just gave them like a taste. I didn't kill them or anything. and more like I just scared him and put some fear into him. And I guess I can see that this it's a guy. That Morbius kind of reminds me of like Mr. Freeze in a way, where like he thinks he's a good guy, but he has a mission and he's willing to do whatever he has to do to solve that mission. And instead of it being like Mr. Freeze, he's trying to solve the cure for himself or his wife to bring her back. This is him trying to solve the cure for himself, you know what I mean? He's on his own mission to fix himself. But Meltar, man, you could just tell like all of these guys are just scared of Morbius, and he's like hissing at him, and he makes like he's like screeching and stuff, like almost like he's making animal noises, and like I don't know if he does that purposely to just scare the shit out of these guys, but you just see like look at Meltar man's face, like he just put the fear in him, man, and he uses that like that fire ray gun or whatever it is, and he ends up burning his hand. He kind of pisses Morbius off, and he's like, "Enough!" You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, "You thought you and your men could take this neighborhood?" And I'm like, "Dude, like, what are you talking about? Like, you just terrorized the shit out of these guys." And but you know what I'm saying? These guys are bad guys too. You know what I mean? But he's like, "You use fear and violence to terrorize people. You have taken what little they have and used it against them." And one of the things is, he says, he's like, "What happens when the only possible response left to man is to abandon reason?" So that's I guess that's a thing that Morbius feels like, he's at a point where he can't really think about, always doing the right thing. I don't think he's an anti-hero, in my opinion. I think that he's a bad guy trying to redeem himself, and I think that this is his redemption story, if anything. And this girl, this vampire hunter that shows up, she actually kind of says that he's like thirsty, he's desperate, driven by fear and pride, and for years he's been looking for redemption. And she's like the fool, like, but he ends up taking Melter Man out, and like I said in the beginning, he was working on a bunch of scientific things for like technological resources, and it just so happens that Morbius is like, "You know what, man, I'm gonna put these chemicals into better hands and further research instead of letting these chemicals and all this stuff be in the hands of an idiot like you, Melter Man. And I'm gonna actually use these things that you've stolen, and I'm gonna put them to good use," is what he basically says. And he comes back to his it looks like he's got like a little lab going on, and he starts working on a cure basically for his his vampire disease or whatever you would call it. And he kind of reminisces, talking about an old friend that it looks like he grew up with named Emil, and he talking about how nobody in the world really understands like when like these scientists are searching and trying to find like these newfound like researches and bring about new technological resources to the world, they're more like doing it to have a name for themselves. They're not really like thinking about, wow, this could be really great for man and the world. It's really about just themselves. And he's like, my friend kind of understood that. He was a real scientist, and Emil is his name, and he died actually trying to help Morbius find a cure. I'm not sure how that happened. If anyone in the comments knows about his friend Emil and how he died, if that's from older storylines, or if maybe that's something new they're gonna be Vita Alia is gonna be exploring. Maybe that's gonna be a whole part of his redemption story, is about him and his friend, and how his friend maybe gave his life to save Morbius or something. Who knows? I mean, I don't really understand how his friend died exactly, so that's the biggest thing. But it looks like he gets a little presumptuous, and he thinks that he's found the cure. And before he even knows if this cure is gonna do the trick or not, he just straight throws that bitch back into his neck, man. And I'm like, ooh, like he mainlined it into his neck. Ugh. But he started. It looks like Morbius, you know, it's like he's in constant pain almost, because he's like the pain, the hunger. He's in constant pain trying to fight the urge to, you know, feed on blood. And maybe it seems like, and like I really liked it, man. Like the first read, I was like, oh, it's a decent book. It was a good book. Second read, I think it's about an 8 out of 10 book. And either way, I was going to issue 2, but I'm really excited to see where this goes. You know, he thinks he's found the cure for 1 second, and little does he know that there's a big side effect, and it's not gonna go exactly as he planned. Let's just say that. And you know, as these guys, you know, they're this guy's like tending to Melter Man's wounds, and he's like, "Looks like you're not gonna need stitches, boss." And he like makes the guy flinch. I kind of felt bad, like the dude's all scared too. And I was like, man, he was tending to your wounds, and you're gonna like try to sucker punch him like that. And man, that's messed up. But then, you know, as they're talking, and they're like, they're saying like, yeah, it was a vampire, and he's like, I know it was a vampire, but why? They're like, nah, the question isn't why the monster came here, it's what he came looking for. And you know, then you hear a voice from the background, and it's like, and he's like, are you kidding me? He's like, how did somebody else get in here again? Another security breach tonight? Like, you're all fired. And he's like, chill out, you know what I'm saying? The voice in the background, he's like, your boys have had a long night. But just, he's like, he's desperate right now, driven by fear and pride, like I said, looking for redemption. And she's like, the fool. But she says, like, it wasn't personal, you know what I'm saying? He was, like they said, he was looking for something. She was actually the voice that said, the question is not why, the question is, um, for what did he come for? And you know, Melter Man, he tries to get hard body with the chick, and you know that she's like, no need for threats, you know what I'm saying? We're here for like the same thing, you know. But Michael Morbius is the one that you want. In the comments down below, if anyone knows who this badass vampire chick is, let me know, because I don't know anything about Morbius at all. This was like my introduction, besides Jared Leto being you know, cast to play in the movie, so I know little to nothing about Morbius. But let me know in the comments section down below what you thought about this issue, and if you enjoyed it as much as I did. And if you guys can hit that like button on your way out, hit the subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out.